Hi everybody, Papa Kenny from Papa Kenny's Workshop. I've had a few people ask me how I recessed my 4.3 radiator into radiator support on my 2003 Chevy S10 LS swap. Now I did do a video of this a while back. Unfortunately I deleted it before I could post it. Probably a good thing because I did a whole lot of swearing and a whole lot of cussing. So basically I started with the radiator support off the truck. I laid my radiator on there, see where it fell on center, and that determined where I was going to start cutting. On the top, there's 3 layers of steel. You can't really see it, but I cut off the bottom layer. I ended up putting some rubber door insulation along the top. That allowed me to push the radiator all the way to the top, and allowing the radiator support to hold the top of the radiator into the truck. What I did on the bottom, I found these brackets. These not the exact brackets, but they're similar. I found these on the ground at the local junkyard, and they fit perfect on the bottom of the 4.3 radiator. There's 2 legs on the 4.3 radiator on the bottom for the supports. These things fit in there perfect. Mount them in rubber. Then I went to, I don't know if it was Lowe's or Home Depot, and I found some of these bolts. They call them elevator bolts. They're basically steel molded in rubber, and they look like the things that level out appliances on the bottom. You know, the things just legs screw in. Anyways, I bought 2 of these. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. This is how I ended up mounting the bottom of my radiator to the support. The radiator starting there, I push the elevator bolt through, I put the radiator in place, and I marked a hole in the radiator support, and I was able to nut and bolt it on each side. I also got similar to this. They call them anti-vibration pads. These are not it. It's just trying to show what, for demonstration purposes. They call them anti-vibration pads. They're like elevator bolts. They're molded rubber with a steel bolt inside of it. The ones I bought, they're about 1.5 inches wide. You can barely see them. They're 1.5 inches wide, probably 2 inches long, and a 1/2 inch thick. I laid them on the radiator tank, marked it out to make sure I had no interference on my grill on each side. Just 2 on each side, and I bolted that in. That allowed my radiator to be laying against rubber on all 4 sides. The rubber grommets on the bottom mounts, the anti-vibration pads on each side, and the door insulation on the top. So that gets me through the radiator. I used the 5.3 top radiator hose. I cut and spliced it to put a fitting in there to pick up my steam pipe valve off the throttle body. I also used the 4.3 bottom radiator hose. Actually, it took me 3 different hoses because every time I cut it, it didn't fit. It took me 3 different hoses to get it cut at the right spot at the right angle, but that's what I used on the bottom. I currently do not have the heater hoses hooked up. I got to delete. This truck does have AC. I have done nothing with that. I have a plan, but it's getting late up here in the Northeast, and I'm not going to need air conditioning just yet. This truck isn't even running anyways, but all right, so back to this, to the fans. I went and got the Dodge Intrepid fans, the same ones you hear about everybody else using. I don't remember what year they came from, but they fit perfectly in this radiator. They're tight against the tanks, even the height's the right height. Actually, this is the exact radiator in my truck. I put a hole in it the other night doing something else, and it took me 2.5 hours to replace it. That's another thing you got to keep in mind, that if you ever have a problem with your radiator, you're going to have to change it. Make sure you're able to pull it in and out. Alright, so the electric fans fit perfectly there. How I mounted mine was I ended up welding a bolt on each side of the top of the radiator support. Then I took a piece of angle iron, wrapped it around the electric fan shroud, and welded a bracket to that. Actually, it's another bracket I found at Pick and Pull. I ended up welding the 2 brackets together and bolting it to the top of the radiator support on both sides. You can see that. This thing's not going anywhere. Alright, so bear with me on the bottom. I'm going to lay on the ground to show you what I did on the bottom to hold the electric fans in. Alright, passenger side frame, driver side frame. Here's a section I had to cut out of the bottom of the radiator support because it hung down too low, it interfered with the horns and the frames. So I cut that out. Like I said, I ended up welding a flat piece of 1/8 stock on the bottom of the radiator support. that closed up a gap there, and then I welded a piece of angle iron on each side right here, and that allowed me to drill it out and bolt it to the bottom of the fan shroud. As you can see, you can tug on this thing, it's not going anywhere. I don't know how well you can see it. I got about 1.5 inches of clearance. That's another thing you got to take into consideration. I took this thing on and off a half a dozen times to get the right clearance, because you move the motor too far forward, you're going to hit the fan shroud. You move the motor too far back, you're going to have coil interference and you dry shaft problems. So just like anything else on these LS swaps, you take 1 inch on one side, you lose a foot on another. So you keep all that stuff in mind when you're doing this stuff. Do your research. I also did a nice little notch for my radiator fill cap. So hopefully that helped you out. Like I said, this truck hasn't run yet. I just sent out my PCM to Flanders LS Swap Solutions. They're gonna program it. Hopefully I'll have that out back by next weekend, and we're gonna start this truck for the first time. So don't forget to subscribe to Papa Kenny's Workshop. When we go live, we're gonna start it, whether it roars to life or whimpers to death. I have no idea what this engine's gonna do. So follow along. Don't forget to subscribe, like I said. Hit that like button. Feel free to share the videos. I appreciate it. Hopefully that helped you out. You got any questions or comments, leave them down below and I will answer them the best I can. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you on the next one.